And midnight, which means it's officially July 25th, 2021, which means I'm officially 21 years of age. Which means I can do this. Just gotta do this live on camera. This was a gift for being a groomsman at a wedding recently. CJ, Kristen, congratulations again, even though it's been a month. Oh, I didn't need to uncork it. Cool. I had an uncorker ready. You guys are just gonna watch this process, dear God. I'm gonna die making this video. One more. That's enough. Just put that off to the side, shall we? All right. Cool. Let's do this. Alice Living Universe, it's Zander. Currently a sober Zander, but I am now officially 21 years of age and about to tackle this topic, so I don't think that's going to last long. Let's talk about the Fiend. How long do you have? So the Fiend is the man in the woods that Bray Wyatt told a story about a full 4 years ago before he debuted the character. It's Bray Wyatt's new alter ego that could either hurt or heal. He seemed invincible, running through Finn Balor at SummerSlam, and then, well, we'll get to that. Let's just start the recap here, shall we? Bray Wyatt was in a tag team with Matt Hardy in 2018 as the Deleters of Worlds. But then in July that year, Matt went out hurt and Bray was taken off TV. Later that year, Matt returned to SmackDown to reform the Hardy Boys with Jeff. And despite several rumors that Bray Wyatt was going to return, he was nowhere to be seen. After WrestleMania 35, we started seeing these vignettes in a smoky room where a buzzard wearing a Hawaiian shirt popped out of a box and laughed like Bray Wyatt. A creepy doll of a girl was riding a rocking horse back and forth, and then suddenly...
We're really glad that you're our friend, and this is a friendship that'll never, ever end.
And the Firefly Funhouse came to be. Bray Wyatt had shaved his beard down to the length that makes mine look like it's as long as Braun Strowman's. He wore a sweater, or jumper, as my UK friends would call it, and he had this Mr. Rogers vibe to him, a mild-mannered television show host inside of his Firefly Funhouse, with his friends Mercy the Buzzard, Abby the Witch, Rambling Rabbit, Huskus the Pig, and Mr. McBossman. The references behind each of them being Waylon Mercy, the character that the original Bray Wyatt is based on, Sister Abigail, a dig at how nonsensical and rambly Bray's promos were, Husky Harris, and of course we all know that Mr. McBossman is a dig at Eric Bischoff. So the Fiend was revealed to be Bray Wyatt's special friend that protected the Firefly Funhouse and those within it, and targeted those that had wronged Bray Wyatt in the past. He attacked Kurt Angle, Mick Foley, Jerry Lawler, and Kane until he eventually attacked Finn Balor to start his first real feud. The Fiend made this incredible entrance, ran through Balor in what, in my opinion, is the Fiend's finest moment, and this is where it all goes downhill. The Fiend got so over that they decided he needed to challenge for the title, started coding his matches in red light. Hell in a Cell 2019 happened, and this is where the alcohol comes into the video. Hell in a Cell 2019 damaged the Fiend to a ridiculous extent by having Seth Rollins beat him down with layer after layer of weapons. They were into the ring, where the Hell in a Cell match ended in a no contest, and, well, Xbox said it best.
You may not ask me back for another one of these, but how the hell do you get DQ'd now?
Did he get DQ'd? The refs
Frickin'
just stopped
Cell.
the match. I don't know if he got DQ'd.
I mean,
Well, they're raising the cell now, so...
Oh, hey, look, it's Denise Salcedo. Anyway, after that, Fiend won the title off Seth in Saudi Arabia. Let's not get into that. He was moved over to SmackDown in the draft, feuded with Daniel Bryan. Then the Fiend went away while Funhouse Bray feuded with The Miz. Shall I remind you, this is the worst version of Miz. It was face 2019 Miz. Then Bray returned after the Fiend ripped his hair. Bryan returned after the Fiend ripped his hair out. They had an awesome strap match at the Royal Rumble without the red light, and then Goldberg. Goldberg happened, where for the first time in the last 5 years, second time in 5 years, Bill used his creative control to take the Universal title of a promising new champion in the build to WrestleMania because he decided it made sense. It didn't. All the way off, Goldberg. Oh, and by the way, you're back now to fight Lashley, so off, Bill. I'm probably already drunk. Probably was a bad idea for this. Anyways, after this, The Fiend murdered John Cena inside a Firefly Funhouse match at WrestleMania 36, a match that is one of my favorite things in wrestling. Kayfabe murdered Cena within the Funhouse, except, Cena's back now and Bray's nowhere to be seen. So, this is... Hopefully Future Zander took that whole line there about Cena possibly returning out if Cena returned. If he does, they just aren't going to acknowledge it, and I was correct. Cena was not kayfabe killed. After that, Bray spent the next few months going after Braun Strowman in the Universal title. Funhouse Bray lost at Money in the Bank. Wyatt Family Bray returned for the Swamp fight at the horror show at Extreme Rules. The Fiend finally won the title back at SummerSlam before being overshadowed by Roman Reigns and his heel turn. He lost the belt to Roman a week later, stopped caring about it, brainwashed Alexa Bliss, got burned alive by Randy Orton, returned at Fastlane looking bad, just bad, and then lost to Randy Orton in his return match at WrestleMania. And 2 minutes after Alexa Bliss hypnotized, possessed, who knows. Anyways, Bray brushed it off in the Funhouse the next night and has not been seen since. It says heavy drink. Being someone I've been very outspoken about my feelings towards. Bray's a human being I have nothing but respect and love for. Seems like a genuinely lovely guy, but the Fiend character has troubled me for a while. Despite this, no, the Fiend is not something I regret in the OS11 universe. Here we go. This should be fun. So let's preface a few things here before I get shit-faced and scream about my feelings on the Fiend for the next half hour, because this is going to be a long one. There's a reason I wrote this sober. So to preface everything through SummerSlam stays the same because that was great. Only thing I would change is that Finn Balor loses as the Demon so that when he goes to NXT and turns heel, there's a kayfabe reason that he's scared to bring out the Demon again and why he doesn't use it against Karrion Kross, which really shouldn't be a persona. It's war paint. It's war paint, not an alter ego. Anyways, sorry. Fiend runs through Balor at SummerSlam and then vanishes for a while. Bray Wyatt appears in the Firefly Funhouse as his Mr. Rogers persona. He talks each week in the Funhouse about how he used to be weak. He used to be blind and oblivious to the madness around him. But now, with him around, he's stronger than ever. Nobody gets to talk and walk all over Bray Wyatt anymore because when I need him most, he will be here to protect us and keep us safe. The thing with the Fiend is that he's a force of nature, so despite my feelings on how I think the draft should be concrete and people shouldn't appear on Raw if they're drafted to SmackDown and vice versa, he doesn't have a brand. You can try to draft him, but that's not going to stop him. So at Clash of Champions the next month, Randy Orton is challenging Kofi Kingston for the WWE Championship, and when Kofi wins, Randy Orton is left laying in the ring after Kofi goes to the back. Randy starts to get back to his feet when the Fiend's screech plays. The Fiend appears in the ring and puts Randy in the mandible claw. The Fiend has his next target, and it's crucially not the Universal Championship. So Bray now starts appearing in the Funhouse on SmackDown, calling out Randy Orton. Abby the Witch in particular takes the most issue with Randy. She can be seen lurking in the background of a backstage segment with Orton that week. Bray tells Randy, "In another life, I gave you the keys to the kingdom, and I welcomed you to my home. You took all that was dear to me, Randy. You destroyed my home. But at Hell in a Cell, he will give you a new home." Hell in a Cell comes and the Fiend beats Randy. He takes his time, though. Randy tries to fight back, but he can't. Fiend is too strong, and the Fiend tortures Orton in the match, leathering him with a kendo stick, leaving welts all over his back, whipping him with a leather strap, tying him up in the ropes, and beating on him before pulling Orton into his sister Abigail and choking him out in the mandible claw. The Fiend leaves without giving Orton a second glance. The Fiend wins. The month of Survivor Series, Bray vanishes from screen for a while because The Fiend should not be appearing as a representative of Raw or SmackDown at Survivor Series, or NXT, obviously. The Fiend doesn't care about brand loyalty. So if Seth doesn't lose the Universal title to The Fiend at Super Showdown, just keep Brock Lesnar on SmackDown like you promised Foxy would, WWE, and that's not important. But also, it is. So in the build of Survivor Series, we don't see Bray much because he doesn't care about Raw versus SmackDown versus NXT. He does leave with the promise that somebody will be seeing him very soon. So with this at Survivor Series, we changed just a little bit up. You remember in real life, we had The Fiend versus Daniel Bryan, good match. Brock Lesnar versus Rey Mysterio, good match. And Pete Dunne versus Adam Cole, fantastic match. All three of those were solid, so we have Mysterio and Lesnar happen as SmackDown's world title match, and instead the Universal title match can see Seth Rollins defend against Eric Rowan, because Rowan was 1 month removed from the best work of his career against Roman Reigns and Daniel Bryan, and he should have been treated like a bigger deal at this point. Rollins retains, obviously, and as for the 5v5v5 match, Team Raw is Drew McIntyre, Kevin Owens, Randy Orton, Ricochet, and Murphy instead of Rollins, because we all know I love Buddy Murphy. And Team SmackDown and Team NXT, they can be the same as real life. Quick change, don't eliminate Walter in the first 30 seconds. Walter in the first 30 seconds. Sound good? The man's a beast, and what the fuck was that? Anyway, sorry, we're not here for that. So after the match, Braun Strowman and Keith Lee do their spot on the outside, where Braun and Keith run through the barricade. Keith gets back in the ring and gets Braun. Braun looks like he's about to be counted out. Lights go out. Fiend screech plays, and the Fiend appears behind Braun. The Fiend chokes him out on the outside and causes Braun to be counted out of the match. Fiend vanishes, and the sight of the Fiend, Randy Orton should just nope all the way to the other side of the ring. He remembers Hell in a Cell. He has PTSD in his head now. It talks to him. It understands. It talks to him. So now the Fiend is after Braun Strowman. Bray tells Strowman, I made you a monster and you turned your back on my family. You forgot about me. But he never forgets Braun and he never lets you leave. TLC comes and Braun challenges Bray Wyatt to face him like a man and leave his little friend behind. So at TLC, instead of the Fiend, it's Bray Wyatt versus Braun Strowman. And unfortunately, since this is before the pandemic era, we can't really have the puppets appear at ringside. I say this, but Beaker from the Muppets appear at ringside in the match once. Anyways, Braun beats the Funhouse Bray, and after the match, Bray is seen sitting down in the corner, and he looks lost. He couldn't get the job done without the Fiend. Maybe he isn't strong on his own after all. Bray continues to pursue Braun, and this time he warns Braun that we played your game at TLC, Braun, but now we do things his way. At the Royal Rumble, it's a fight between monsters as Fiend and Braun have a no-holds-barred match and may as well just do what they did at SummerSlam. Tear the arena apart to the point where the next match, they have to try and wrestle in the destroyed ring. And they can manage to fix it by the main event, but have 1 or 2 matches in a beat-up ring. So now Fiend has taken out Balor, Randy, and Braun. I mainly put these recaps in here because I'm well aware that I am at least going to be 1 flask deep at this point. I'm very fortunate that I'm not, because this bourbon is not good. I can only imagine how bad this video is going to be if I kept drinking, though. We now enter the road to WrestleMania, where we see Bray in the Funhouse, and now he's acting odd. Well, more odd than usual. He's slightly more worked up. He seems more hesitant to talk about the Fiend, now that it's well established that the Fiend is stronger than him. He appears every few weeks, and each week he seems more scared, until John Cena returns. And then we have that segment where the Fiend appears behind Cena and points to the WrestleMania sign. And suddenly it all seems to have clicked with Bray. I thought he and I were growing apart, but now we will be even stronger than ever. It's all thanks to you, John. And everything up through the Firefly Funhouse is the exact same. The character dissection of Cena is perfect. After WrestleMania, this is where Bray and the Fiend really enter a new phase. One that I went into wanting to capture, which is very much a Jekyll and Hyde style story. One of the high school books I actually enjoyed. Shout out to my senior year high school English teacher. I'm sure she saw this video of me using a book that she forced me to read to rewrite a wrestler while drowning my sorrows in whiskey. She'd be very proud of me. Bray starts appearing in the Funhouse, and he appears to be happy. with how he and John Cena's match went. He won. He defeated the man who caused his downfall. But that's not good enough for him. It's not good enough for him. And now Bray doesn't know what he will do next, but all he knows is that now nobody's safe because now the Fiend has conquered the one he hates most. He's invincible. His next target for Extreme Rules, Jeff Hardy. Now hear me out for why. Bray reasons that the sins of the family weigh on those closest. Your family abandoned me, Jeff, and now he has come to collect because with Matt Hardy gone, there's only one person that the Fiend could hurt that would make up for Matt leaving. Bray's in limbo. These two, should you so desire, have the swamp fight. Just go full final deletion with it and make it Wyatt family Bray fighting Jeff because that's the version of Bray that's wanting the revenge. He's allowed his freedom long enough to do this match, but it ends with the Fiend defeating Jeff Hardy, and that can serve as a way for Jeff to reinvent himself, should he so desire. Maybe he could do a thing with Brother Nero. I'm not encouraging Willow because I think Willow's stupid. That's just me, though. After the swamp fight where Bray had a taste of freedom in his compound, he got to go home. And now he seems almost hurt that the Fiend took over during the fight. And now Bray is wearing the black burnt makeup that he has under the Fiend mask. But inside of the funhouse, it's blurring the line between the Bray Wyatt and the Fiend characters a little more. Bray's more unhinged within the funhouse. Instead of killing Rambling Rabbit, he hugs him, he clings to him as if he wants his help. SummerSlam, the Fiend picks his next target. The Fiend wants Daniel Bryan. Well, yes, Daniel Bryan was on a hiatus at this point in time. Well, I feel like if we ask him very nicely, he'd be willing to come back a month early to do so. We could just pre-record all this stuff. So the Fiend and Daniel Bryan pretty much have their Survivor Series 2019 match, but at SummerSlam 2020. Fiend wins, and next time we see Bray Wyatt inside of the funhouse, he has his hair down. The long yellow locks of the Fiend. Hang on a minute. The Fiend is infecting Bray Wyatt. The Fiend starts attacking everyone now. It doesn't matter if he's had history with them. The Fiend has been turned loose and Bray can't stop him. Because now Bray is becoming the Fiend. Until the night they announce that Survivor Series will be the 30th anniversary of The Undertaker. Then the Fiend vanishes again. And Bray Wyatt starts appearing in the funhouse, but he's not happy-go-lucky Mr. Rogers Bray. He's got the hurt glove on. He has one of the Fiend's red eyes. His hair is down. The black ash on his face, he's starting to look like an amalgamation of Bray Wyatt and the Fiend. Instead of being excitable and happy, Bray seems scared. He says, I can't control him any longer. He's found the one stronger than him, and now he won't stop. Survivor Series comes, and all the people are there to clap for The Undertaker. Trips, Kane, so on and so forth. Out comes Undertaker, and as soon as he says, it's time for The Undertaker to rest in. Fiend's screech interrupts him. The Fiend comes through the ring, hits Undertaker with Sister Abigail, and drags him to hell under the ring. The show fades to black, with the Fiend's hand coming through the hole and dragging the coat and hat of The Undertaker into the ring. Kane appears on Raw the next night, and he demands to face Bray Wyatt. Bray Wyatt appears in the funhouse, and now on the wall next to the door, on a coat rack, is Undertaker's hat and coat. The funhouse still in the state of decay. Bray now has Bray now has a few tears in his sweater, as if he'd been trying to pull it off. He says, Hi there, Mr. Mayor of Hell. He and your brother, they're very busy right now, but he wants you to know if you want him, he'll see you. He'll see you in hell. Bray sounds scared to say these words. He doesn't want to let the Fiend in anymore, but he can't stop him. Kane accepts the match, and at TLC, we have the Inferno match. Kane versus the Fiend, and the Fiend runs through Kane. And this is the most supernatural this is going to get. Because if we're keeping the you have to set them on fire thing, then how about this? It's called the Firefly Inferno match for a reason. So we're going a little spooky with it. Kane walks out on the ramp, and when he does the thing with the fire on the ramp, he's engulfed in fire himself. And when the flames die down, it's classic Kane. The full mask, the full bodysuit. You're going to understand why in a second. You might already. Kane uses his powers to try and light the Fiend on fire several times, but the finish of the match, which will be full smoke and mirrors, because Kane has mayoral business outside of wrestling. This is more of an angle than a match anyway. The Fiend hits Kane with a choke slam. to the outside through 4 flaming tables. When Kane hits the crash mat under the gimmicked tables, because obviously we're gimmicking them to be as safe as possible since we pre-recorded this, there's an explosion of fire outside the ring, and Kane is engulfed in the flames. All that remains when the ringside crew extinguish everything is Kane's mask, which the Fiend takes, walks up the ramp, and laughs, holding it over his head in the Undertaker fist-up pose. After the show, when we return to the funhouse, there are burn marks on the wall, and Kane's old mask has been mounted above a fireplace, like a trophy. And now Bray's sweater is even more damaged. You can see his tattoos, his body underneath. Both eyes are now the Fiend eyes. He's scared. He says, "I tried to warn you. I tried to warn you all, but now he won't stop. He won't let me spare any of you. There is only hurt, no more heal." Then he stops. He looks at the hat and coat of the Undertaker, and he says, "Unless." He slowly starts to laugh. The Funhouse segment ends. At the Royal Rumble, the Fiend isn't part of the Rumble, but the show itself, he appears after the match between Goldberg and Drew, and he chokes out Goldberg. Just had to give that nice little fuck you to Bill there. And the Fiend laughs. He screams out. When he screams, it's not a scream of excitement. It's a scream of anger. Bray is trying to let himself out. The Fiend, but he can't. He can't control the Fiend. He cannot free himself. The next person the Fiend assaults is Edge. After Edge won the Rumble, notice everyone he's been attacking. Think of one person they connect to. Bray is appearing in the Funhouse again. At this point, he's just missing the mask to be the Fiend. His sweater's in tatters. His face is covered in ash. His eyes are red. His hair's let down. And he says he demands an audience with the one stronger than him, and he's going after those that power has battled before he arrived. I can't do a Bray Wyatt voice. At the Elimination Chamber, Edge challenges the Fiend to a match for attacking him, and Bray warns Edge in the Funhouse. His fight is not with you, Edge. Do not incur his wrath. Edge does. Edge wants the Fiend, and the Fiend beats Edge. Not a squash. Edge still looks good, since he has the match with Roman to go into, and he'll still get his heat back by spearing Roman later in the night. After the Fiend beats Edge, he grabs him, and he sets him up for the next snap spot. You can hear Bray's fight through the Fiend's control as he shouts, "I warned you! I warned you!" when... Gone. The lights drop, the Fiend releases Edge, who gets the hell out of the ring. Gone. Firefly Funhouse appears on the screen. The hat and the coat are gone, and the terrible CGI lightning strikes around the ring. And the Fiend laughs. In the weeks leading up to Fastlane, Bray starts to look like there's a glimmer of hope on his face. The gong is exactly what he wanted. He says, You are the one who can free me from this nightmare, but he can send you into your own. He can devour your fears. We will meet soon. And as advertised at Fastlane, Undertaker will officially respond to the Fiend's challenge. Fastlane comes and Undertaker returns. Bray appears in the Funhouse and he says, "Yowie wowie! Good to see you, dead man. Glad you're alive and well. Thanks for finally returning my calls." He had to make a lot of noise. Undertaker speaks slowly and sternly, and he says, "I vanquished you at WrestleMania 6 years ago. You assaulted my brother. You disrespected those I went to war with. At WrestleMania, the Fiend will rest in peace." Bray Wyatt's Funhouse demeanor shifts from here. In the next 3 weeks on the road to WrestleMania, the Funhouse segments become more like video diaries from Bray Wyatt. He mentions that The Undertaker is the only one who can free him. He's the only one strong enough to stop the Fiend, and if Undertaker can't kill the Fiend, then he fears the Fiend is unbeatable, and that soon I will be the man in the woods, just like she warned me all those years ago. Referring to the Man in the Woods story where Abigail told Bray that he would become the Man in the Woods. Now Bray has to let this reliance on the Fiend go too far. So now the Fiend is about to be the only face Bray Wyatt can wear, which, for those that read the book, is very similar to the ending of Jekyll and Hyde, which, as I said, is what I really based a lot of this booking on. WrestleMania Night 2, The Fiend versus The Undertaker. It goes one of two ways, because I want to leave this one up to your interpretation, your choice of what you like more. Option 1, Fiend squashes Undertaker, trucks him, ends The Undertaker the same way he did to John Cena the year prior. The Fiend is officially taken over, and soon the Fiend will try to erase Bray Wyatt. You can carry on the story of Bray trying to break free, but the Fiend is now the new face of fear. Option 2, Undertaker's the one to beat the Fiend, and he frees the soul of Bray Wyatt to return to its original vessel. He can still become the Fiend again one day as a last-ditch option against someone like Karrion Kross or Aleister Black if you built either of them right, WWE. But that's it. That's how I tell the 2-year story of the rise of the Fiend, his rise, his takeover, his destruction of Bray Wyatt, making Bray go from let him in to let me out. Tell me what you thought. Did you hate it? Please just don't tell me if you hated it. This is going to be uploaded on my birthday, and that'll make me sad if you didn't hate it, or if you hated it. But if you liked it, tell me, because I need something that makes me smile through the alcohol. Because now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to try and drink a little bit more of this. I'm going to pass out. And I've been Zander, and that was fantasy booking. Well, really should have watered this down first. Anyways, bye. Bye-bye. See you soon. Bye now. This is such a bad word. It was a bad thing. I've been Zander, and that was fantasy booking.